When psychologists study what people fear most, the top two things that are usually leading the charge are death and public speaking. So let's talk about presenting a speech, and let's jump into the anxiety part first. Sometimes our anxiety can be debilitating. I have a great short video for you to watch that will walk you through in this chapter or this module what is happening inside your body so that you can hear this. Being nervous and having public speaking anxiety doesn't make you broken or less intelligent. It just makes you human. So we want to understand what it's like to facilitate this speech anxiety. We cannot really overcome it, but we can adapt to it. So sometimes we have people who have what we call debilitative speech anxiety, where they literally cannot function. They can work through therapy for this. The first time that my leg shook violently on a stage, my best friend, who's a psychologist and has run 11 mental health clinics, said there's medication for that. But we want to work through some basic tips that will help it not debilitate you or make you completely shut down. Let's look at some of the irrational fears, and these are the things I want you to know, and I want you to talk to yourself through these. Okay, if you hear yourself saying, I'm going to mess up, I'm going to fail royally, that's fallacy, what we call fallacy of catastrophic failure. You're not going, it's not going to be that bad. I promise you. So we also want to take the fallacy of perfection. I want it to be perfect. I cannot tell you how many people I work with who say it needs to be perfect. And I will say, listen, preparation, practice makes presentable. Let's take perfection off the table. It's an unrealistic expectation. I've done this since I was 10 years old. That was the first time I ever presented in a public speaking competition. I'm now more than 3 decades in, and I'm telling you, perfection isn't possible. Okay, the fallacy of absolute approval. When we get into persuasion, we want everybody to like us and agree with us. And I'll tell you, this is the one I struggle with, but it's just, again, an unrealistic expectation. And then this overgeneralization. I always mess up, or I never get it right. Take always and never out of your vocabulary. All right. I hope you'll take a minute, watch the video on anxiety. I hope it'll help you understand what's happening, and it will give you a good perspective on the anxiety process. We're going to look in this module on types of delivery. There are 4 primary types, so if you're taking notes, number 1 to 4. The one that you will really use in this specific module is extemporaneous. That means it's flexible. It follows an outline. You'll have notes, but again, it won't be memorized. Impromptu. This often happens at dinner parties, or maybe you're at an event or training and someone says, hey, would you like to get up and share a few words? I never go to an event without having a couple things in my back pocket to share just in case. Then we have a manuscript. So this one's really important if you are a politician, or if you are a CEO, or if you need to provide information and get it right because it's being recorded, and you have a transcript, and so you're following a manuscript. We don't want your speeches in this class to be a manuscript. We want them to be extemporaneous. So finally, we have memorized speeches, and these are a little more theatrical, performative. Sometimes students want to memorize, and I encourage them, let's stay in our extemporaneous lane. Let's be flexible. Let's follow an outline. Let's use notes. Let's not read from a transcript, and let's not memorize it. But there are places where you want to memorize a speech. Someone's worked really hard, especially a keynote or a TED Talk. Those typically are memorized. All right, let's look specifically at informative speaking. Now, I have provided a list of topics. I have a link that says here's what's required for your speech, because I know that's kind of what you're wondering is, what do I have to do for this module? So go click on the informative speech tab. You'll get to pick from a list of topics that have been researched in our textbook. We have seen them throughout this course, and you'll use those as your main point. So look at that list of topics. I'll go into a little more depth. I have a sample outline there, but we're going to start with this informative speaking. Then we'll learn about visual aids. So it's so important that you have something visual that aids you. And we kind of fall into this trap of PowerPoint is the only one. So we've used it for so long. We used Prezi at one point. A lot of people are finding PowerPoint through Canva, Slides, or people are starting to use Sway. But it's a way to have your main points and your visual up. But I'll tell you what, if you get a degree in biology and you do a presentation at a library, nothing will capture an audience's attention more than you holding a live python or bringing in a hissing cockroach. So anything that is visual for your audience and aids your message is considered a visual aid. So that could be a poster. It could be an animal. It could be an object. I love giving my audience something tangible, especially using a metaphor, and then I'll give them a little thing to walk away with. To take. So there are different types of visual aids. You'll learn about that. We have media, and that's where we fall under these PowerPoint. There are rules for using visual aids effectively, and I will get to that in just a minute, but you need to practice your speech with your visual aids. Don't do them independently. Make sure once you've created or decided on your visual aid that you practice with it. Okay, want you to take a minute, pause, go watch a video. You're going to watch something called Death by PowerPoint. And I'm going to show you. I've made 6 lines. So in your notes, take your notes, write 6 lines. Go write down the 6 things that David Phillips, in his TED Talk, Death by PowerPoint, what he shares for effective PowerPoint building. 6 principles we can all do that he has helped the CEOs of Tesla for their presentations, all kinds of Fortune 500 companies he's worked with. Watch the video, write down the 6 things. I will be looking to see if you learn them based on the PowerPoint that you create.